Welcome to Idea Success TV. Idea Success TV is your videocast that focuses on trends, practices, and solutions for moving ideas to action for both purpose and profit. Hear stories from people who have taken their ideas and brought them to reality to make an income and to impact the world. Be a part of ideation and pitch sessions. Learn about business trends and discover best practices and innovative ideas for bringing thoughts into reality and plans into action. And now, here's your host, Sylvia Henderson. Hello and welcome to Idea Success TV. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and we are on the Idea Journey segment of the show, where I interview an entrepreneur or business owner about their idea, their journey to their business, and we find out some information about what they do, and we get some good stuff from them in terms of their expertise. And so my guest today is Lorette Farris, and she is the founder and the CEO of iBoss Inc., and we're going to find out what the heck iBoss Inc. is, because it's not about bossing you around. Well, maybe. But anyhow, so Lorette, welcome to Idea Success TV.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. I'm happy to be here.
And what, just sort of the very beginning to level set, Lorette is a friend and a colleague and a business partner of mine. So there's a little bit of levity in this interview that might not be in some of the other ones, but we're about business today. So we will proceed.
We'll try to.
That's right. So let me first read Lorette's bio and to let you know a little bit about her, about the backstory, and then we'll go right into some good content. Oh, by the way, the topic is about raising capital. But it's, we as entrepreneurs, we sometimes say, I need money. And really what we need are sales, but, we need money for other things. And we tend to just go to the bank. That's the only thing we think of. We watch TV shows where entrepreneurs are pitching for dollars, and we think, oh, that's them, but I can't do that, or I'm not ready for that. So what I asked Lorette to join me in today and to talk about is if you're just starting out in business, if you're just a new entrepreneur, raising capital is possible. There are some things that have to be done first, but I want her to kind of take away the fear of an entrepreneur just starting out to think about how might they raise capital. So that's why I asked Lorette to come on the show, and you'll see why. So Lorette is a crowdfunding industry expert who provides back-office services for entrepreneurial-led companies raising capital through public or private offerings. Lorette works within a renowned team of industry experts to include investment bankers, attorneys, accountants, trainers, marketing professionals, and more. Lorette has transformed her Wall Street training and experience to benefit Main Street businesses through teaching, training, and advisory services. They're all designed to help entrepreneurs raise capital from $500,000 to $50 million like a pro. The convergence of new securities regulations, technology, and access to a broader market of investors has created vehicles for companies to find needed capital. And iBoss Inc. provides the roadmap to get there. And we're going to take a look at that roadmap a little bit. So, Lorette, welcome again.
Well, thank you, Sylvia. I'm happy to be here.
And it's interesting being on the other end of the microphone.
It is. I'm trying to figure out how to be a guest.
Because you have your own show. What's the name of that show?
You asked too quick. I couldn't
I know.
So I do a couple of shows. One is, as you were talking about, pitches, called Pitch Me. Another is Capital Academy, where the same companies that pitch are able to give a little of their business profile. And another is Capital Academy Recap, where we just want to add information that is specific, more specific to the smaller business community.
And there's a channel or two where those shows can be found. Where is that?
Yes, so that's our website, ibossinc.net, but we do have a 24/7 TV channel iBossIncTV.net that any of the shows that we do, most of the shows we do, can be seen 24/7.
Cool. So, because of this is Idea Journey, sort of a brief, how did you get from where you were, which was, kind of the Wall Street experience? What brought you? What was that idea that brought you to doing what you do now?
So it was more circumstances than planned. When I left Wall Street, I did various other things, including I had a business brokerage firm. And that was while I was still in New York. I made a decision to relocate. And when I thought about relocating to Maryland, I did some searching for a company that could make sense for what it was I was doing with my business brokerage firm. Found a company here in Gaithersburg, Maryland. I merged my business brokerage firm with them. They did mergers and acquisitions. So I was able to stay in the financial services space. But do that, and so I'll try to tell the rest kind of fast. While I was a merger and acquisition specialist, I had a client, which was a security guard company.
Okay.
I bought the security guard company and ran that for about 5 years. The financial market hit in 2008, 9, 10. But that's when the new legislation was starting to be talked about, which is the Jobs Act. It was signed off on in 2012. That's really what brought me back to what I'm doing now, iBoss. Those are new security regulations that help companies, that provide provisions for companies to be able to raise capital directly themselves. A perfect sweet spot for me to take my experience from Wall Street, add it to what was going on, and start working with Main Street businesses.
Okay. And so, because a lot of my audience are solo business owners, just starting businesses or in business but small, like maybe 1, 2, 3 people on their staff. I know a lot of times I hear when they're working with me, I've got this idea and I need money to fund it before I can make money, but the bank won't talk to me because I've got nothing, you know. And so I wanted to kind of take the time for our interview to start from that basic. I'm just starting out. Is raising capital even possible?
Yes and no, because it depends on what an entrepreneur is doing now, but where they're looking to take the company. In the space that I'm in raising of capital, I'm trying to help them get attached to private equity, meaning individuals that will put their money into the business because they like what they see or understand it or really think it's going to fly and want to be a part of it. So when I say kind of part, if a new entrepreneur, whether it's just a concept or whether they have already started the business, if they're basing this business off of a revenue model or a business model that is designed to generate significant revenue and growth, then they may have something that an investor would be interested in. But if they're developing something that is mainly going to be a lifestyle business, meaning they make enough money to satisfy their lifestyle or maybe even their family, or if it's designed to be a legacy business where they could take it just far enough where they leave it to their children or some other family member, then those type businesses are not going to throw off enough revenue or have enough growth for an investor to feel that's a good place to put their money. So it depends on not only the idea they have right now, but where they might be looking to take the business.
So when you were saying lifestyle, I'm thinking a lot of people, there's a lot of coaches out there, a lot of speakers out there, but their business is them. So that's not
a good investable business, but it doesn't mean they can't create. See, in raising capital, it's all about how far your imagination goes. Think about a lifestyle business. Dale Carnegie, was a lifestyle business at one time, right? He was an individual who, and then he grew the company beyond himself.
Good point.
That's what needs to happen whenever you want to think about getting somebody else's money. Can you grow that business beyond yourself? If you can, then there's a conversation to be had.
Interesting. Okay. So in even seeking capital, and again, the thinking, you're used to banks and all the information that they want from you. And I know you need to have like a business plan and some other things even to be seeking money from anybody.
Right.
Sometimes it feels like it does when you first graduate from college and you're looking for a job and they ask for experience, but you don't have any because you just got out of school. So when seeking financing or capital, how do you account for, I don't have a background yet?
So, again, I think even in how you frame that, the difference is if you're going to a bank, if you're going to a standard financial institution, they are not, and I can't call that investing, but they're not lending their own money.
Okay.
They're working with other people's money, right? So they already have set criteria set up for the type of circumstances for which they can put these other people money into. When you're trying to raise private capital, you're talking about going to individuals. Individuals are making the decisions. So that part is not totally based on whether you have, it's not totally based on whether you have experience. But what it's based on is, can you convey the story of what you're trying to do well enough that you can interest that person in opening their pocket and giving you their money. So it's the story, but there does need to be much more behind the story, right? So you can't just tell me a tale and not be able to show me the when, where, how, and that is where the business plan and other documentation is going to come into place, because you got to get someone to believe what you're saying. And very few people are going to give you money just because you said it. Now show me some more stuff.
So when you work with someone, you are preparing them to be in front of that investor who might be interested in what they're doing.
Right.
How does somebody even get ready to work with you?
Okay. So, of course, there is a sort of vetting process. Everything I just said is some of the initial conversations I'm going to have with an entrepreneur. I need to understand if they will have what it takes to interest an investor. Because if they don't, I'm going to be wasting their time and mine.
Okay.
So now let's say we had generally what winds up happening is I'm introduced to an entrepreneur one way or the other. From that introduction, we will set up a call to have a conversation. Okay. That initial conversation sort of frames it, because it's also a step-by-step process, right? There's a lot to this, and you can overwhelm someone who's never been through it or thought about it. So from the initial conversation, I like for them to step back and think about the things that I said. Oftentimes, I'll never hear from them again.
Scared them off. Scared them off.
It does for that. But those brave souls that do want to have that next conversation, that's where we could get a little more serious in talking about now what some potential steps could be. Of course, from company to company, from individual to individual, it's different. Everyone has a different story and they're coming from a different place. And so once we're able to have that next conversation where it's laying out what some potential steps are, again, you're back to either they're ready to go a next stage or they need to sit back and digest that also. And for me, the next stage oftentimes is a training program that we do.
Okay.
Because, again, there is so much more involved if you're going to start taking in other people's money. Not only is there money involved, but now you're talking about potential securities, rules, and regulations.
Okay.
So from initial conversations, I like to have it lead into training so that they can now understand the next steps.
Are there some basic things that a new business owner or an entrepreneur needs to have whether they're coming to you to raise capital or anything else?
Yes and no, right? There are some basic things they should have, which really is business plan. And when I say business plan in this respect, not so much that it has to be that final formalized version,
Okay.
but you have to have jotted down some kind of trail about what you're trying to do, how you're trying to do. Because if you're but so new to it, oftentimes those entrepreneurs don't know how to put together, I call them an investor grade business plan, but they have to be able to put their thoughts down in writing.
Yeah.
Because what happens oftentimes, once you start writing out what your plans are, they could change it. What you think could happen starts changing as you put it on paper, because now you can see it and you can feel it and you can sort of manage it a little better. Our imagination takes us in places that could be wonderful.
Oh yeah, this mug's gonna make me $1 million.
Exactly.
And then you find out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay.
So if you ask me, are there certain things they should have? They should have some draft form of what they're trying to do and how they're trying to do it. From that, it really is a matter of, you can learn through the process,
Right.
through the steps.
Right. So your training then does what? It actually takes them through the steps?
The training, yes, but let me be specific about that. The specific training we do under iBoss is helping a company to understand how to get investor ready.
Okay.
So it's going to talk to them about the types of investments, the types of vehicles, what investors want to see, how they want to see it, a cap table, which is sort of a spreadsheet that helps you understand if you're going to raise capital, private equity, then what are you giving back to the people putting their money in? So our training is specifically designed to help entrepreneurs understand the capital raising process. There is a training that, and I shouldn't say training, but there are steps and motions they need to go through before a lot of that information is going to make sense to them.
Okay.
And that really is the business planning process. So it's one thing walking in the door with a draft, the thought process, something laid out for what you want to do. Now you need to start, again, if you're going after investors, now you got to think about the actual information that needs to be in your business plan. Where the training we do can help. So I'm not saying they got to have that finished business plan before they do the training.
Okay.
Because what the training will do is help them to understand what an investor wants to see.
Okay.
When you're going after capital, every type of capital requires different things. For instance, if you're going to a bank for a loan, the bank has requirements that they want to see. They also want to see a business plan, but they read it one way. They read it by what they need to see that you can service the debt. Where an investor is reading it a different way. Investor is reading it to understand how are you going to help their money make money.
Okay.
So the conversation is different in the document. So the training helps them to understand that side. So I never tell them you can't do this training if you don't have it, but it helps if they understand the real elements of an investor grade business plan. I know that was a long answer.
No, that's fine, because I think people are thinking, so how do I even start? And you've got training, what does it do?
Right.
So what's probably the biggest hurdle, or the number one hurdle you find an entrepreneur who's capital, who's ready to raise capital, that they run into, and kind of how do you get them through that?
I will tell you just what we said. The biggest hurdle I find is entrepreneurs getting through the business plan. I have worked with so many entrepreneurs that thought they were ready for capital. And I say it that way because oftentimes it's probably not that they're not ready for capital, but everyone thinks they can come up with a different or new way to make something happen, right? And in the private equity space, you can't. If this is your first time doing a business or your first time raising private capital or any of the first times I could come up with, what do you think that investor is saying on the other side? You know, there are 15 other companies that are trying to get the same money from that investor that you are. What's going to make you stand out in front for that investor if you don't have all the same completed documents that those other 14 have? So it really is the business plan that winds up being the most difficult part to get entrepreneurs through. But one of the things I do say to them is if you can't finish the business plan, then you're not ready for an investor. Doesn't matter how good your product or your process or your service is, that's not the right capital for you, because the requirement that's necessary to get there, the effort that needs to happen is not being taken the right way.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of TV, you know, we think, oh, I want $50,000 for 2% equity, and you know, we see that happen, and I go, okay, no, you're not getting that,
right?
Because
that's exactly
you're unrealistic. Right. Okay.
Well, the other side, I'm glad you bring that up, is when you see some of the shows, they're not paying you, so I won't mention their name. Is a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand how much the companies had to go through to get on the show. Okay, the 6 different events they had to go through, and the handwritten 28-page application they had to do, you know, things like that. So there's a lot more involved than what you kind of see on the surface.
Yeah, that's true. So if you had, I mean, what advice is sort of like capital, thinking about raising capital 101, what would you want to leave an entrepreneur with who's watched this?
I think I want to leave them, for them to think about, what do I have? And I mean in a realistic fashion, because every one of us think whatever we do is the best thing out there, and I can't possibly imagine someone not wanting, me or what I do, right? But what I want to leave them is with that realistic thought of, why me? So think about that person willing to pull that checkbook out of their pocket and write you $100,000 check. I would want entrepreneurs to think, why me? Why would they give that check to me? What am I doing? What am I saying? How am I doing it that's going to honor this $100,000 check someone is considering putting in my hands? And how am I going to get them $200,000 back? Because it's not always just what they're giving you. They're giving it to you because they're looking for a return. So why me? Why are they giving it to me? And how am I going to give it back to them?
Okay, I like that. Because we're always talking about in marketing the unique USP, the unique selling proposition. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
In the intro, you mentioned in the crowdfunding environment. I just want to clarify for folks, too, who are watching crowdfunding. We're hearing that, thinking, is that like Indiegogo and some of those other groups, or is this a whole different thing?
One thing I like to say to people, think back where everybody used to say, I had to make a Xerox copy. Xerox is a brand. It's a machine. It's a photocopy. Crowdfunding is a process. There are so many other things that go on. So yes, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, those are types of crowdfunding. And even today, you got to be specific, because the reward base and the equity base, the reward base and the donation base that you used to think of, they've even expanded to equity base. So when you hear crowdfunding, think about it as the process to get to the other side. It is not the be-all and end-all.
I like that. I hadn't heard that description. Okay. And so the specifics of, as we close, how you work with people and how they reach you?
So they can reach us through ibossinc.net. At our website, there's various touch points, but specifically if they have questions, they will see a box on the left-hand side of the navigation that says send a voice message. So from email to any of our social media to sending us a direct message, they can reach us from ibossinc.net, INC, ibossinc.net.
Boy, people still know how to leave a voicemail message. And
Well, what's really cool is you do it right there on your computer.
Well, true. Okay, so that's tech.
Yes, it's a little techy.
All right, so final words.
There is capital out there. There is capital that wants to find good projects to invest in. It behooves anyone who think they're doing a project that needs outside capital where they can't get it from the traditional means. One of the taglines I love to use is know your options. It doesn't hurt you, especially as an entrepreneur, to find out what all of the options are. Don't be stuck on thinking it's only banks or it's only alternative lending or it's only mom and pop, right? I have a friend that calls it bank of mom and pop, right? There are various options out there, especially because crowdfunding has now hit. There are rules and regulations and processes that allow you to raise capital in a significant way. Know your options, find out what they are, and I'd love if you allow IBOS to help you walk through the process.
All right. Lorette, thank you so much for being on the show. And absolutely. I'm sure that clarifies, at least for some, the thought of, can I, should I, how do I even begin that process? And you have a way to bring them through, both to help them figure out how to get ready as well as to get them ready.
Right.
Great.
Thank you, Sylvia.
And so so that's the idea journey for today. And when you've got that idea and you're thinking, how do I even move it forward? And you need funding, watch this again and get some pointers and then go to ibossinc.net to take the next step in terms of learning, training, and connecting with Lorette. So until the next episode of Idea Success TV, I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and I invite you to tune in and make a great day. Thank you for watching Idea Success TV. Idea Success TV is a syndicated production of the Idea Success Network and Village Connector Media, the People's Prosperity Network. Permission to share, repost, and rebroadcast is freely given, provided it's done without charge of an access fee. If you have questions about this broadcast, or if you'd like to be a part of an upcoming segment, please contact us at Idea Success TV Contact. Thank you for listening and watching Idea Success TV.